In this video, I'd like to discuss the pylon product and how to utilize the pylon product within an estimate. If we're inside of control, looking at an estimate, down the left-hand side under our electric sign products, we have pylons. Within the pylon product, the first thing we come to is the column type. Now this is a customizable list of column types that define certain things, so usually production labors and types of materials. Here we have pylon and post. By the default definitions within the system, the pylon product is generally tubular steel where a smaller diameter tube is put inside the other to extend its length to make the pole higher, where a post in this definition is a single pole, often square or odd shaped in nature. If we look at the pylon part, and go into details, you'll see of a column type, such as whether it's a pipe or a tube, the column cut method, and these cut methods can be defined in the system setup, plate cut method, welding method, and the time that's required to maintain it. Now we haven't added anything, so therefore it doesn't really know at this point. Then we go into pylons. How many columns are there going to be? 1 and 2. The anchor bolts, if there are any, and the size anchor bolt. Any gussets. Now a gusset is generally the angled cut steel at the bottom to hold the base plate to the pipe and give additional support. So if we need 3 gussets around the pipe, and the material that's going to be made out of, say, 1/2-inch steel, and the length and width of those gussets. So it could be 8 by 8 maybe. The base plate, if there is one, and we'll say that's 24 by 24. It's a large base plate. And match plate if one is required. Next thing we come to is the stages of the material themselves. The first one, and this starting generally from the ground up at this point. If we have, say, schedule 40 12-inch pipe, here you'll notice a stage height and a length height. The stage height is the exposed height above ground. The length would be the total length of this pipe. So in this case, let's say I'm burying it 8 feet in the ground, and then 8 feet of this, or 10 feet of this particular pipe is out of the ground. So in this case, my stage height is 10 feet, but my length is 18 if I'm putting it 8 feet into the ground. So my finished height at this point is 10. The next thing I want to do is I want to add a pipe inside of it. So I'm going to choose probably an 8-inch pipe. Could be a 10. And this one is going to have 0 stage height because it's really just an insert. And it's going to have maybe a 6-foot height. And it's going to have 6 rings on it. 3 in the top, 3 at the bottom to hold the 2 pieces together. And the material that we're going to make the rings out of. Then the next one we're going to extend up again with a 12-inch pipe. And in this one the stage height and the length will be the same. Now I have a 3-section pipe that is overall 20 feet high off the ground. And I can continue this method all the way up to build whichever size or height pylon is required. Now the pipe data, you'll notice this is taking the information off the pipes we've already chosen. So in this case, we have an ID and an OD, or inner diameter and outer diameter of this initial pipe. And then the wall and a circumference. Goes through them all. The rings and the cap material and an overall weight. The foundation. If we need to put in a foundation, such as to dig a foundation for this pylon, is it excavated or drilled? If it's drilled, it wants a diameter. If it's excavated, it wants a depth, length, width, and depth. The soil depth and the soil type, and this is the customized list, and the total yards required. Then we can choose our separate options as far as anything in a list or can be added to this list of things that may be required. So it's just how many do you need? So I need 4 each of, and you can just type things in here as well if you're not familiar with them or if you need to buy them elsewhere. We'll say 4 each of concrete at a cost of $70 a piece, and we mark those up by 50%. Next is the painting. If we need to paint this pylon, you'll notice we have the areas already selected. If there's any prep, masking, or texture, number of coats, the paint type, and the paint color. Now the others is to paint any additional areas that may not be predetermined as far as what we've already shown. They have their individual calculators where I can give it a description, go into the calculator, and am I painting a sheet, a tube, or a cylinder, and I can put it in inches or in feet, the quantity, and it will come up with an area for painting. The last tab is the All Parts tab. This lists all the parts that are already pulled in the system, as well as gives you a location to add additional parts manually by going to Add and selecting from your list of materials any additional materials you wish to add to this pylon's product. Now, those are our options when dealing with a pylon. If you're dealing with something like a post, you'll notice that a post doesn't really contain an ID and an OD that is defined because they are not circular. So the column data is a little bit different whether you're using a post or circular tube. Here I have inches, height, width, wall, and perimeter, but not an ID and an OD because that would not be known. I hope this explains the pylon product, and if you have any further questions, please review our other videos or contact the implementation department. Thank you.